Hey, wonderhussie here. In a place I cannot name or give too many details about, or else I'll be strung up and crucified by a gang of angry, old, naked men with testicles hanging halfway to their knees and moral authority so high it makes me dizzy just to think of it. All I'll say is I'm camping in the desert, in the middle of nowhere, with a bunch of friends, including my buddy Vic Meyer. You might recognize Bert the Love Boat, his adventure van. And then there's our camp over here. There's my rig, there's my sister's rig, and my friend Terry's truck is in the background. But the place where we're camping happens to be one of those places that people get all kinds of riled up about, if you even mention it on social media. I have shot videos here in the past where I didn't show the facilities and I didn't name the place by its name, but come to find out, even that is a no-no. I got a very stern tongue lashing the other day about me being responsible for blowing this place up and ruining it. So all I'll say is I'm in the middle of nowhere in the desert. It's super duper hot, so I'm kind of lurking in the shade here at our camp. I'd like to go down and film this under the trees, but if I did that, well, I'd be strung up and crucified by a gang of naked, angry old men with balls hanging to halfway to their knees. And, well, nobody really wants to see that. So I'm hanging out here at camp, trying not to melt. It's been very hot out here the last few days. And so consequently, I'm also not wearing any clothes. So I gotta be very careful how far down I tip this camera. I've got to be very careful about what I say. Oh, gosh, I feel very straitjacketed. And that's the perennial dilemma I find myself in as an avid lover of the outdoors, an adventuress, and a YouTuber. You know, I'm sure I'd have much more success as a YouTuber if I did just go into these places and name them by name. You know, that'd be a lot better for my SEO and just show you exactly how everything works. But instead, I'm always tiptoeing around trying to please both camps, like, you know, make the video engaging for everyone to watch, but also not give too much information away so I don't piss off all the regulars. And it's an exhausting tightrope walk, man. I'll be honest, I'm actually, or I was kind of considering just quitting altogether. You know, like, I really like making these adventure videos, but it's really hard to do for someone like me who, even though I act like I don't care what anyone thinks, you know, oh, you don't like my hairy pants, I don't care. Well, I do care what people think, and I don't want to be a jerk, and I don't want to be responsible for these places becoming overrun, but golly, sometimes I think maybe I'd be better off if I just didn't care as much. You know, what do I care what a bunch of angry, naked old men with balls hanging halfway to their knees think? But the problem is, I do care. And that's why I'm lurking around camp while everyone else is down enjoying the facilities. I'm hunkered here in the shade of, well, right now, this awesome creosote bush. Look at this creosote bush. I mean, it's springtime here in Death Valley, and even the humble creosote bushes are alive with these beautiful yellow flowers and these little white fluffy puff balls, which are absolutely driving my allergies bonkers. But what are you gonna do? You know, I'm in their home right now. I am the idiot who decided to go camping in Death Valley in late April. I know it's pretty late in the season to be camping out in the desert, and it has been super duper hot. Well, I guess let me backtrack a little bit. I got back from that road trip I did to the Eclipse. I drove all the way to Arkansas and back, and I had a wonderful time. I mean, if you watched my video about the Eclipse, it was pretty cool. I'm really glad I drove all the way out there for it. And then I stopped a bunch of places along the way and along the way back and shot videos, and I really enjoyed my time going a little bit farther east than I normally do. That being said, when I did start heading back west, and I was driving, well, I left Arkansas, and I drove into Oklahoma, and I passed the 100th meridian, which is an invisible line running down through the United States, roughly around where the Oklahoma Panhandle starts. Well, the 100th meridian, if you know anything about John Wesley Powell and water rights, the 100th meridian is the line that kind of separates the wet, moist, humid eastern half of the United States from the arid west. And John Wesley Powell was famous for noting when he first explored it that we probably shouldn't settle west of the 100th meridian because it's not really suitable for large-scale agriculture. There's not enough water. Well, guess what? Nobody listened to them. And, well, as we all know, there's Phoenix and Vegas and Los Angeles and all these cities sucking all that water out of the Colorado River. It's kind of too late. And as a lifelong Westerner, well, it's too late for me because when I crossed that 100th meridian, I breathed a great sigh of relief. You know, as messed up and counterintuitive as it is, when I crossed that 100th meridian and got back into the dry West, I felt like I could finally breathe again. And don't get me wrong, Arkansas is absolutely beautiful, and eastern Oklahoma, if you've never been there, is absolutely beautiful. I mean, there's trees and grass and, you know, crops grow easily and, you know, the people are friendly and there's all kind of cool stuff. But I'm used to the West, man. I like it real dry. I like to be able to breathe that dry air and go camping in 100-degree heat and suck all that water out of the Colorado River and basically live a totally unsustainable lifestyle. Golly, every time I get up and start walking around, I think, oh, it's better to get up and walk around. It's cooler. No, the only place to stay is right here in the shade. So I'm just gonna sit here under my busted shade canopy. Oh, hey, that reminds me. You might be able to see that our shade canopy is looking a little worse for wear. In fact, well, you can probably see that the support poles got completely bent and broken, and a couple of our friends had to rig up this sort of splint to get them back together so we could pull the whole thing back upright with these ratchet straps. Because, believe it or not, there was a terrible storm that blew through here yesterday, okay? The first couple days we got here, it was super hot, like I think almost 100 degrees. And we just kind of sat in the shade all day going, oh my God, why did we come here? Well, then the third day, some weather blew in over these mountains back there behind me. Again, I'm not saying anything at all about where I am, but you can see there's a big range of mountains there with snow on the top of them. Anyway, some kind of weather blew in over the mountains yesterday, and this nasty thunderstorm blew in, and it was actually amazing. The temperature dropped by like 20, maybe 30 degrees. It even hailed for a minute, and it was awesome. I was out walking around in the desert enjoying the beautiful desert rainstorm. If you've never been in the desert during a rainstorm, it's a pretty cool experience, and it smells amazing. All these creosote bushes, they let their perfume go, and all the little animals are scurrying around. It's just fantastic. Unfortunately, well, it was also real windy, and it completely destroyed our shade structure. You know how when my sister and I do our maximalist camping, we like to hang up, you know, all our swag and tapestries and our chandelier and lay out our oriental carpet and put up our candelabra. Well, unfortunately, Mother Nature had other ideas for us. Our whole camp was busted. It took us and our friends a few hours to get everything put back to rights, but we did, sort of. I mean, we're only planning to stay here another few days, so hopefully it'll last at least that long. Anyway, I feel bad that I can't really show you more of the landscape here, but like I said, I'm not trying to risk the wrath of the elders, so I'm just sitting here in camp, mulling over the poor life choices I've made that have led me to this point. Hunkered down in the shade of my camp, wearing a disguise. You like that? I'm not even wearing my normal hat and glasses because I was afraid people would recognize me here and go, oh, that's that YouTube girl. She ruined this place. I'm telling you, people really, really, really hate influencers. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll try to go incognito. And I got this hat. Actually, I got it when I went to the eclipse in Arkansas. If you remember that video, a guy named Dave was captaining the boat. Well, he is a representative for this Lalo tequila, so he gave me this hat. It's a fine brand of tequila made by the folks who do Don Julio. I think it's kind of a premium line that they just came out with. And I tried some while I was out there. It's good stuff. Anyway, I thought I would wear this hat and then these glasses because, well, I don't know if I'm fooling anybody, but at least I might attract just a little bit less hate. And the less hate in my life, the better. You know, because I am actually a very sensitive person that does care what people think about me. I know you might find that surprising. A lot of people think like, oh, that wonderhussie, she doesn't give a f***. She does whatever she wants. And, you know, yeah, that's kind of true to an extent, but not really. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to be a jerk. I'm a born people pleaser. In fact, I think I'm, what do they call that? Too agreeable. I have too much agreeableness because I never want to rock the boat. I just want to make everybody happy. And it's had some pretty negative effects on my life now that I think about it. And I didn't start thinking about this until the other day when somebody brought it up, and I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I was raised to always do what would make other people happy, and well, it's impacted even this channel. When I started this channel, I was kind of way more fiery. In fact, I had a lot more spice. Some would say I was a more fun person. But when I started putting up videos, I got a lot of complaints from people. Meh, you cuss too much. Young lady, you shouldn't bring up politics. Meh, meh, meh. So I thought, oh, okay, I won't cuss. I won't bring up politics. And some might say I dumbed myself down in the interest of pandering to a wider audience. Which I guess is fine because we all want to find as much success as we can, right? But I don't know if I really wanted to be successful, then I would name these places that I go and give explicit directions on how to get there. I'd probably have way more views if I did that. So I guess I am, in a way, hampering myself purposely out of ethical concerns. And I guess I'm okay with that. What just cheeses me off is that some people don't even seem to appreciate that. They still think I'm an asshole. And you know what? I guess it boils down to it hurts my feelings. I'm trying to be a good person. And I guess it's just a lesson I have to learn. You're never going to please everybody. There's always going to be some naked old asshole with balls hanging halfway to his knees who thinks you're a jerk no matter what you do. And incidentally, I guess I shouldn't be body shaming men with saggy testicles because it's going to happen to all of us sooner or later. And I'm no prize heifer myself. And I should add that many of my favorite people are old guys with saggy testicles. So I'm not complaining about it. It just kind of cheeses me off that they get so territorial about these places. But I'll stop talking about that now. All of this just kind of got me thinking about the mixed blessings of YouTubing. You know, that's YouTubing and being an influencer has its ups and downs. Okay, it's got plenty of ups. So when I was traveling cross country to go watch this eclipse, it was amazing how almost everywhere I went, somebody recognized me and they were invariably super duper friendly and welcoming. And, you know, I ran into a guy at the Blue Hole in New Mexico who helped me shoot some footage of me floating around the pool. And then when I went to the Big Texan Steakhouse, which is that place where if you eat the 72-ounce steak, it's free, met some real nice folks there who watched my channel. They were cool. Then when I went to Four Corners, the Four Corners Monument, where you're in Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona all at the same time, I met a really cool guy there who watched my channel, or watches my channel. When I went to Monument Valley, I got recognized twice. First, I was standing at the side of the highway, that iconic highway leading into Monument Valley, that they shot that scene from Forrest Gump where he's running down the road and those beautiful iconic red sandstone bluffs and buttes are in the distance. They call it Forrest Gump Hill, and it's a well-known place to take a selfie, you know, from the movie. So I was standing at the side of Forrest Gump Hill making a video, which I haven't posted yet, or trying to make a video, and this friggin' tour bus pulled up. An entire tour bus pulled up right into my shot. And I thought, oh, I'm trying to shoot this video. Now I'm going to have to wait for everybody on this dang tour bus to get out and take pictures, and I'll be here forever. But the door on the tour bus opened, and the tour guide got out, and when he saw me, he went, wonderhussie! And he ran up to me and he gave me the biggest hug. And everybody on the tour bus must have thought he was nuts. They didn't know who I was, but he filled them all in. He said, hey, you guys, you got to follow her on YouTube. She's got the best channel and she goes to best places. And next thing you know, everybody on the tour bus got out and they were taking pictures of me and him and taking pictures of my hat so they could remember to look it up when they got home. And well, I might have just gained a few subscribers from that experience. So if you're watching because you did happen to be on that tour bus, thank you and welcome. And then after I left, finally the tour bus left, I finished shooting my thing and I drove down into Monument Valley, even going in the kiosk into the park. The Navajo kid in the booth was like, wonderhussie, I've been waiting to see you come down here and make a video. So it's not all negative. It's not everywhere you go people think you're a jerk. It's only certain places like this. So I guess it's not all bad. But lately, I don't know, just some of the negative aspects of what I do have sort of reared their ugly head. And I'm not even just talking about this whole giving away secret places on social media thing. No, something else happened to me while I was on my road trip, and it's a really weird story, and it's very personal, so forgive me if this is TMI, but okay, I set out to go watch the eclipse. I had to drive all the way to Arkansas. It's 1,500 miles, so I allocated, I think, just over 2 weeks to do it. I gave myself about 6 days to get out there, then I was going to spend 4 days in Arkansas, and then another week or so to get back. So I had some time, but I didn't have like all the time in the world to poke around as much as I would have liked to, and I had to bypass some amazing places that I do intend to go back to. Anyway, I set out April 1st. I left Death Valley on April 1st, and I drove south to I-40, and I don't know, I was just feeling kind of gloomy. The fact of the matter is, I do really like to be alone. I'm always saying I want to be alone, and I do like to be alone. But sometimes, and more so lately, I feel kind of lonely. And I've talked about this in videos before. I guess it's not really lately. For the past few years, I felt kind of lonely. You know, my sister doesn't really like to travel as much as I do. And, you know, I can't hang out with my sister and constantly talk to her and pester her. Like, we're not married. You know, it's normal. At this time in my life, it would be normal for me to be in a relationship with somebody, some poor guy that I could and tell all my problems to. So, I don't know, I was feeling kind of funky, driving along I-40, feeling kind of lonely, and, well, that's actually one of the things I do like about driving by myself is it gives you plenty of time to think. Let me just check and see. Oh, my laptop is all the way charged. Better turn off my jackery, save the power. I have a very elaborate setup going on here. I have solar panels on my roof that are charging this jackery so that I can plug in my Starlink because there's no cell signal here. And I'm going to need to upload this video at some point. But when I'm not using the internet, I use my jackery for other things like charging my laptop and, in this case, my electric toothbrush. Anyway, the power setup has been working just great. Honestly, I can't say enough good things about those jackery solar panels and the jackeries themselves. I know they gave me free product in exchange for making a video, but it really is a product I stand behind. And as a matter of fact, so is my little Bouge RV fridge, which we have inside this shift pod, incidentally. Remember this shift pod I took camping once? Well, we brought it out here because we thought it'd be reflective and keep the heat out. And so we kind of have some stuff in here. Well, first of all, look, I'll zoom out. My sister did a very nice job. She got this little rug, tried to make it like a cozy dome space that we could all hang out in, but it's so freaking hot. Nobody wants to go in here. Anyway, I did bring my little pink Bouge RV fridge, and it's doing just fine. It's staying cool at 35 degrees. It's also plugged into a jackery, which is connected to another solar panel, which runs outside the tent to the roof of my sister's car. So my sister's powering the fridge. I'm powering the internet. Between the two of us, we got a pretty fancy camp for an undisclosed place in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, what was I talking about? I better go back in the shade and sit in my chair so I don't accidentally show any nip. Anyway, oh yeah, so I was traveling along I-40, feeling kind of depressed, but, you know, enjoying the alone time so I could think about things, think about my life and my life choices and maybe what kind of changes I should start thinking about making. And I was pretty blue, I'll be honest. I was feeling kind of blue. My sister recommended that I start listening to more like Alan Watts and Buddhist YouTube videos talking about self-worth because, man, I have really low self-esteem. I know that probably sounds funny because here I am, you know, la la la, YouTubing all over, acting like I don't have a care in the world. I come out with my calendar every year, act like I think I'm hot shit. Well, the reality is I don't think very highly of myself at all. I struggle with self-doubt a lot, and so my sister recommended I listen to all this Buddhist stuff. And so I was listening to that as I drove along, and I guess I was in a place of growth, you know, I was trying to grow, and so I was vulnerable as a consequence to the advances of a certain person who watches this channel. Okay, I get emails from dudes all the time, like pretty much not a day goes by that I don't get an email from, for the most part, it's really nice emails from mostly men watch this channel, just telling me how much they enjoy my videos. Every once in a while they try to hit on me or they ask me if I'm single or available, and it's very flattering, but I don't typically bite, so to speak, because you don't know somebody that you meet in an email, you know what I mean? I'd rather meet somebody organically at the grocery store or out at the bar or something. It's weird to connect with somebody online. But this one particular person was very insistent and recorded a video they wanted me to watch. They said they had I think it all was triggered by that video I made about my neighbor's dream about me. One of my neighbors had a dream that I had 3 penises, and I made a video talking about that. Well, that triggered this person to send me a video response explaining why men are intimidated by me or why it's hard for me to find a boyfriend. And so the person emailed me and said, "Hey, I recorded this video. Watch this. This will tell you." Well, I don't have time. It was like a 40-minute video, too. It was like 2 20-minute videos. I don't have time to be sitting here watching 40 minutes. But just tell me in an email. But whatever. I was traveling. I was alone. I was kind of lazy on this trip. You know, I was traveling along I-40 and going farther east where it's harder to find campsites. And I didn't have a ton of time to be driving around in the woods and stuff. So I just decided to stay in motels. I actually stayed in motels almost every single night on that trip. Thanks to another viewer. There was a very kind viewer of the channel who works for a chain of hotels, and she gave me a friends and family discount code. So I got cheaper rates, at least. And so I was staying in all these flea bag motels, which in and of itself can be pretty depressing. And I shouldn't say flea bag. Some of them were pretty nice. But anyway, I'm staying in all these hotels by myself. You know, just kind of made it even more gloomy. But one night, I was in Albuquerque in my motel getting ready for bed, and I go, all right, I'll watch this dude's video that he made me. Why not? You know, it takes me a long time to get ready for bed. I put a lot of, you know, lotions and potions on my face. I know it looks like a joke right now, because I probably look terrible, but it's so hot, I just couldn't put makeup on for this. Anyway, I'm in front of the mirror doing my thing, taking a shower, and I put this guy's video on in the background, and it was actually a really cute video. The guy seemed very sincere. He wasn't bad looking. He was psychoanalyzing me and telling me why I have a hard time meeting men. Basically, it's that I guess I intimidate them. But I don't know, there was just something about it. I thought it was cool. So I emailed him back to thank him and for his insights. And, you know, we kind of started up an email exchange. So I would email him, and then he would make me these videos. I don't know why he wouldn't just email me back. But he would always record these videos or even like audio files just explaining what I should do and how I should treat this and that, and, you know, basically giving me relationship advice. It was kind of like having a therapist, which is something I've been thinking about doing, and so I really enjoyed the exchange. And so this went on the whole time I went to Arkansas, and I watched the eclipse, and I camped out on the island, and I came back. All along the trip, I'm emailing back and forth with this guy, or he's sending me videos, and I'm emailing him, and kind of getting to know each other. And so I actually kind of started to like the guy. I'm like, oh, like, this guy's all right, you know? Yeah, he lived in a different part of the country, so it was very unrealistic to think that I would actually ever date him. But I don't know, you know, I thought we could at least be friends or something. And so this went on, and escalated, I would even say, until on the return trip, I went to Monument Valley, and I had all those interactions with the tour bus and the guy at the booth and everything. And at this point, the dude that I'm communicating with was like, well, if you ever want to call me, just ask me for my number and I'll give it to you. You can call me and we can just talk. But I really don't like talking on the phone. To be honest, I have a phobia, and I have since I was a kid, about talking on the phone. I don't know why. It's just kind of weird. I don't like calling people. I think it's because it goes back to my low self-esteem. I'm afraid if I call someone, I'll be bothering them. Like, they're going to be in the middle of something important. They're not going to want to take my call, and then they're going to feel like they have to talk to me, because I know that's how I am. If somebody calls me that I don't feel like talking to, I feel like, oh, well, I guess I have to talk to them. And I know most people aren't like that. Most people, if they don't want to friggin' talk to you, they'll say, hey, look, it's not a good time. Can I call you back later? Well, I'm just overthinking everything. I'm very neurotic, and so I don't like calling people because I'm afraid that they won't want to talk to me. So when this guy said if I ever want to talk to him, you know, ask for his number. Okay, thank you, but I'm not asking for your number. You know, I mean, I might be the kind of hussy who runs around naked around a bunch of strange old men with testicles hanging halfway to their knees, but I don't ask for anyone's phone number. There's a difference, okay? Anyway, I guess the conversation just kind of got to the point where the guy was like, okay, look, I never do this, but here's my number. Please just call me. And so I told him, in Monument Valley, I really didn't have very good cell signal. The cell signals were really bad out there. And so also, I'll be honest, I was just kind of too nervous. I could have Wi-Fi called him in my hotel room, but I was too nervous. So I told him, okay, look, I'll call you when I'm back in Nevada. On the last night of my trip, I should be able to find a campsite. I decided to camp because, golly, I'm telling you, I stayed in nothing but motels this whole trip. But I thought, okay, I got to at least camp out the last night of my trip. So I camped out in the desert off of Interstate 15, just about an hour north of Vegas. And it was actually a great campsite, you know, far enough away from the freeway where you couldn't hear the traffic. And very convenient, full cell signal, beautiful Joshua Tree landscape. It was great. I told him I'll call him when I make camp, you know, when I find a place to camp. And so I did, finally. Now it's been 2 weeks that I've been communicating with this guy, and I felt we were sort of getting to know each other, and he seemed like he actually understood me relatively well. I mean, these were long videos he was making me, and he said he'd been watching my channel for 8 years, and he really liked me, and in retrospect, it was all bunk. Anyway, I called him. I called a guy, which I never do. And he answered right away and, you know, started chit-chatting about this and that. And I guess the point of the phone call is he was going to continue to give me relationship advice, but that we never really got around to that. We were just sort of chatting about this and that. And, well, unfortunately, after only about a half hour or so, he very abruptly said, "Hey, listen, man, I got to go." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, you know," I figured he was just trying to preserve his pride or something. Like, he already lowered his standards by giving me his number. Maybe he didn't want to be on the phone too long because he had, you know, tried to look cool or whatever. Okay, fine, well, it's nice talking to you, huh? Bye. So I hung up. I thought, oh, well, that was kind of a weird call, but yeah, it was pleasant. He seemed like a pleasant guy. All right, well, that was all right. So I went about my business at my camp. You know, it was still pretty early in the evening. The sun was out, so I was actually sitting there naked at the side of I-15, talking on the phone to this dude. When we hung up, I got up, I drank a ranch water. I had this new mannequin. I got this new mannequin on my way back. I stopped off in St. George, Utah, at the home of the mother of a photographer that I used to shoot with all the time when I was a nude model. Well, his mom just moved to St. George, and she was downsizing. She had to get rid of a lot of stuff, and she had a mannequin she couldn't fit in her new house. And so she knew I liked mannequins and that I would provide a good home for this mannequin. And so I told her, yeah, sure, I'll come by and pick him up. And it was a male mannequin named Chuck. And she had him for like, I think 25 years she had this mannequin. And she told me she had a relationship with him. She used to talk to him for 25 years. He was a part of her life in her house. She would set him up at the table and, you know, give him fake food. And he was a member of her family. And so I told her, of course, don't worry, I'll take Chuck. He'll be a member of our family at the compound. It's like a sanctuary for unwanted mannequins out there. We have a ton of mannequins. So I had this mannequin with me while I'm camping at the side of I-15 naked. And so he's a sitting mannequin. He's in a seated pose. So I sat him. First I dressed him up in a cowboy outfit and I sat him on the hood of my car, which I figured was a great security device or security ruse, because that way if anybody came along in the middle of the night like wanted to mess with me, they'd see there was some dude sitting on the hood of the car and they'd leave me alone. Huh? Anyway, I'm futzing around with the mannequin doing this and that, and then I made some food. And I got in my car to sit down and eat, and I checked my phone, and I saw I had an email from the guy I had just talked to. Now, by this point, I think it had been a couple hours since he hung up. And so I opened the email to see, like, oh, you know, what does he want now? And he goes, "Hey, sorry I hung up on you so abruptly, but I just couldn't stand talking to you any longer." What? Come to find out, this guy found me so annoying. I think I came off as bossy and judgmental to him that he just couldn't handle it, and so he had to hang up. And that was basically the end of it. I haven't really gotten any more emails from him. Like, he had enough of me. Now, I thought this was interesting because if this dude has been watching my videos for 8 years and supposedly had such an understanding of me, which he seemed like he did in some of his videos, how could talking to me on the phone for 30 minutes destroy all that? And then it occurred to me that maybe I'm not really being my authentic self on YouTube. Like I said, I do kind of dumb it down to pander to the masses. Now, those of you who have met me in real life, and many of you have, I am basically exactly the same. I'm very down to earth. I'm very unpretentious. You know, I let it all hang out as much as I legally can on YouTube. I do these videos with no makeup. I try to be very authentic, and I think I do a pretty good job of it. That being said, I guess maybe I do dial back on my swearing and my snarkiness or my cynicism. You know, I'm a pretty cynical person. Maybe that all didn't come through on YouTube as much as it did in this phone call, because this dude apparently found me so unpleasant. He said he couldn't stand talking to me. And I'll be honest, at first when he said that, my feelings were hurt. I thought, holy cow, really? Am I that unpleasant? But then, the more I thought about it, and I think he emailed me one other time, and he kind of explained what was going on. Well, I think part of the problem was within the first 5 minutes of the phone call, he brought up something about George Soros. And I said, oh dear, we're only 5 minutes into this call and you're already bringing up George Soros? Yikes. And if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. So it was that compounded with a few other things. This guy was just very sensitive and he thought I was belittling him or emasculating him or trying to get one up on him. I think what it all boiled down to is he wasn't man enough for me. It takes a real man to handle the huss. So I guess all of that, the guy hanging up on me, the guys at this location that I'm at bagging on me, all of this has just got me thinking about what I'm doing and how long do I want to continue doing this. You know, I have no idea what else I would do if I quit YouTubing. And that's kind of dangerous too. I'm at the point now where I almost feel like my YouTube channel is my identity. If I didn't have this channel and these videos to make every week, who am I? I don't even know if I would know who I am anymore, you know? And also, if I quit making these videos every week, I feel like that might not be a good thing for my own spirits. A lot of people email me all the time telling me how much I cheer them up and distract them from their problems. Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret, which probably isn't a secret because I think I've said this before. I do the same thing for myself. Making these videos keeps me from getting depressed. You know, as long as I can go to another place and tell another story, well, I feel like it's not time to hang up the towel yet. It's like Scheherazade from 1001 Arabian Nights. Okay, remember Scheherazade? I might have even talked about this in a video before. Scheherazade married some evil sultan who was known for killing his wives after he got tired of them. You know, he'd be married to a woman for a month and then off with her head. Well, Scheherazade didn't want that same fate to befall her, so she figured out a way to keep his interest. So every night before bed, she would start telling him a story. And just when it got to the most interesting part of the story, she would go, oh, well, it's bedtime now. I'll tell you the rest tomorrow night. And so the Sultan would be like, oh man, I was just going to behead her, but now I can't because I got to find out what happens in the story. So this went on for 1001 nights, and golly, by the 1002nd night, I guess, he finally did fall in love with her and they got married and she didn't have to worry about being beheaded again. Well, I'm sort of like my own Scheherazade in that many's the time I want to behead myself, so to speak. But as long as I keep telling myself these stories and entertaining myself by going out to these places, well, it delays the beheading one more Wednesday. Or Friday, I guess, as is the case with this video. So anyway, that's why I'm sitting here, squatting in camp, hidden in the creosote bushes, lurking around the fringes of this vast and mysterious valley surrounded by snow-capped mountains and beautiful, fragrant, allergy-inducing creosotes. I'm just trying to keep myself entertained. And I guess you could say that's what all of this stuff is all about. That's what the lanterns are all about. That's what the chandelier is all about. That's what the candelabra is all about. You know, life is nasty, brutish, and short. So you might as well make the most of it. Cheers, and I will see you next Wednesday.